I'd really caution sellers about overpricing.
Yeah.
We've had sensational real estate headlines for 6 years in a row. And we hear things like the Bay Area is dominating and values are crazy. People are willing to pay anything, but it's not true. And so I think in some senses, buyers are more informed than ever about properties and
Absolutely.
about value. And so I think that buyers are very finicky about price, even though the market is hot. Now, there's instances where buyers will you'll see properties get way bid up.
Yeah.
But I think sellers see that one instance and think that's going to be me. And so
Sure.
I call it pricing for the unicorn.
Yeah.
And so sellers, they look at that one unicorn and think, I'm going to attract that one mythical buyer that's going to, for some reason, pay 10% more than everyone else in the market.
Yeah.
This buyer is going to come from the Bay Area. They're going to totally ignore all sales, listings, and pendings that are lower, and they're going to pay, my house is so special that they'll pay 10% more. And
Yeah.
I would just really say to sellers, you got to be realistic in this market and to price for the market that actually exists here rather than the unicorn buyer, okay? So
Yeah.
seriously, that is a huge issue. I logged into MLS yesterday, and there are about 100 price reductions.
Right.
Our market's heating up right now, okay? Because that's what it normally does in the spring. There's more listings hitting the market, but to have 100 price reductions in one day, that tells me that there are at least 100 properties that are overpriced, and there's
Sure.
probably more, and they've got to find the market, find the reasonable level, and they could have easily done that in the first place by looking at the sales and by looking at other pendings and being realistic rather than overly subjective.
And 100 price reductions in one day, that could be close to 10% of the market right now with limited inventory.
It could be a good chunk. When the market really gets dull in the fall, some years, it could be up to 400. But
Okay.
But this is, it's nothing. It's not like a warning sign in the market.
No.
The level, but it's a reminder for me. Like I've seen that number tick up a little bit recently. Then I'm
Sure.
like, hey.
Yeah.
Pushing
the envelope.
Buyers aren't willing to pay. We don't have a market where buyers are willing to pay anything. Like in early 2013, we had the most aggressive market. I would look back, or now I can call it like the Bitcoin market, right? Where we just had these insane values were just going up. I think over the course of 1 year, the median price literally rose 35 to 40% between
Heavy investor market there too.
Heavy.
Yeah.
But right now, the market, it has that feeling. It feels
Right.
like a Bitcoin market, although, Bitcoin,
but the value isn't that steep.
Yeah, and so there's such a thing as where we can have a market that feels more aggressive than actual value increases. And
Right.
I'd say on that note, the bottom of the market in terms of prices and entry level, whatever the entry level price is in a neighborhood in East Sac or Midtown, there's a lot more pressure at that price point.
Sure.
Compared to the very top of the market. And so I think we really have to recognize that the market's not the same at every price level. And sellers, I think the only thing that they see is Bay Area. And
the headline.
They see the headline
headlines,
but you got to price according to your market wherever it is. And so that would be like
the thing I hear from my clients that are looking to buy homes is very little speculation about obviously they want to buy a home that's going to appreciate, but they're not counting on it in terms of their decision. So for me, that means there's very little speculation in the market. And as motivated or emotionally charged as they might be to make their move, whether they're coming from the Bay Area or they're moving up or buying their first home, they're just paying such close attention to how much money am I parting with, how much is going to be left over, what's the future of my finances once I've bought this home, planning to keep the home long term. All I think really, really healthy for the market and overall, but I think speaks to the point about they're not just going to pay any price just to buy a house. So it has to make sense. And everyone's spending so much time online self-educating about neighborhoods, about who they're going to work with, and what the house looks like in that price range before they even get really serious about looking at homes and writing offers. So I think that kind of goes along with what you're saying too.
I think you're right on. 100% price sensitivity is what I would say. And it seems like in 2009, over 70% of all sales were foreclosures. Sure. It was a gnarly, dark time in real estate. But you had all these properties that eventually, so many of them were bought by investors and rehabbed. And what it did is it created a market where I think it's in the psyche of buyers, and maybe with the advent of HGTV also, but where we expect a better housing stock. And so like granite used to be like all the rage in 2005. It's like builders would charge crazy amounts, but right now it's like you walk in and you're like, well, where are the solid surface counters? You know,
Right.
there's almost like this expectation. So when it comes to inventory and price sensitivity, I think buyers have a stronger expectation for a better housing stock. And so properties that are in really good condition can fetch a premium. They still have to be priced right, but there's a lot of demand for that. And so I see properties that are in adverse locations and that properties that are not upgraded where, I mean, anything will sell if it's priced right, but I think that there's lesser demand there, and so sometimes when a property has something adverse in today's market, even though inventory is low, buyers will look and go, I think I'll wait and hold out, even though there's a housing shortage. And so it's this interesting thing where buyers are at. They're paying attention to price, but they're really paying attention to quality and condition.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. All right, great. Well, this was